Hey people. Buckle up, because I never thought I'd be writing here, but life hit me like a freight train, and I don't know what to do with all this emotional wreckage. I, 34M, have been married to my wife, 32F, let's call her Tiffany, for almost 6 years. From the outside, we look like a power couple, good jobs, a decent home, nice vacations. But hindsight is a hell of a thing. Tiffany has always had champagne tastes. She loved the finer things, designer clothes, spa days, 5-star everything. I made a good living, but she always pushed for more. We deserve better, she'd say. At first, I admired her ambition. I thought it came from wanting to build a great life together. But lately? It started to feel more like greed than growth. About 3 months ago, I started noticing things. She got weirdly protective over her phone. Started dressing a little more provocative, even for just running to the store. She suddenly started going to a yoga class 4 times a week, but she's always hated yoga. And then there were the random laughs when texting, the sudden mood swings, and the way she started criticizing everything I did. I chalked it up to stress. Maybe work, maybe boredom. I even started questioning myself, maybe I wasn't doing enough, maybe I was too busy with my own job. You know how we always want to believe the best in our partner? Yeah. That. So, here's where it gets twisted. One evening, Tiffany left her phone on the kitchen counter while she went to shower. Not something she usually did, she treats that phone like it's a limb. Curiosity got the better of me, and I'll admit it, I peeked. I wasn't expecting to find anything. Maybe just reassurance that I was being paranoid. Instead, I opened a message from someone saved as T-Rich. At first, I thought, okay, maybe a cousin or some girlfriend with a dumb nickname. Nope. The first thing I saw was a photo. Not a selfie. Not a funny meme. A photo of Tiffany, in lingerie I had never seen, in a hotel room. The caption? Can't stop thinking about last night. When can I see you again? My heart dropped into my stomach. I couldn't breathe. I didn't even want to keep reading, but I did. The guy kept calling her baby, thanking her for the gift, saying how amazing her body was, and how she made him feel like a king. I felt like I'd been sucker punched. Then came the twist. In one of the messages, he casually mentioned cleaning up the 4th floor bathrooms before seeing her. Cleaning? Bathrooms? I looked him up. T-Rich was not short for Tyler Richardson or anything glamorous. His name was Tom Richards. And he was a janitor at the boutique hotel downtown where Tiffany claimed she was going for a spa weekend with her friend Jenna. She thought he was rich because he wore a Rolex that turned out to be fake, drove a rented BMW, and talked big. She fell for it. Hook, line, and sinker. I was stunned. Devastated. But mostly, I was boiling with rage. What kind of person cheats on their husband with a janitor because she thinks he's loaded? Apparently, mine. I waited until after dinner to confront her. I couldn't sit across from her, watching her smile and act like everything was fine, without feeling physically sick. My hands were shaking, but I tried to keep calm. I didn't want to explode, I wanted answers. After she put her wine glass down, I said, "So, how's Tom Richards?" Her face froze. For half a second, I saw sheer panic flicker in her eyes. Then, the lies started pouring out like clockwork. Who? I stared at her. T-Rich. The janitor. The one you've been meeting in hotel rooms during your spa weekends. You know, the guy you thought was some wealthy entrepreneur? She blinked. Then laughed. Oh my God, are you seriously going through my phone now? Wow. That's so invasive. What happened to trust? That was her defense. Not denial. Not remorse. Just outrage that I found out. I told her I saw the texts, the photos, the whole fantasy she had built around a guy who literally scrubs toilets for a living. At that point, she snapped. Said things like, "You don't excite me anymore." At least he appreciated me. He treated me like I was special, you just work all the time. She tried to act like it was my fault. Classic projection. But then, like the cherry on this steaming pile of betrayal, she threw in, and honestly? I thought he had more ambition than you. That's when I lost it. I told her she could go be with her ambitious janitor and that I was done being her financial safety net while she played dress up with fantasy men. She didn't even seem sorry. She just started crying about how she made a mistake, but not because she hurt me. No, she was crying because she'd been duped. She wanted to be a trophy wife for a millionaire and ended up hooking up with a dude who mops floors and uses cheap cologne. At that point, I was just numb. I couldn't even process the words she was saying anymore. Her sobs didn't sound genuine, just like the rest of her act. It felt like a bad movie I was trapped in, and no matter how hard I tried to wake up, it didn't feel real. But it was real. She'd been sleeping with someone else. A janitor. And the worst part? I wasn't even angry in that moment. I was just disappointed. Disappointed in myself for ignoring the little signs, for believing that we could get through everything with just a little more time, effort, and patience. Her behavior, her lies, it wasn't new. But it was different now. The disrespect, the condescension, it felt heavier. She wasn't even trying to apologize anymore. She was just trying to cover up her embarrassment by flipping the narrative onto me, like I was the problem. Like I had forced her into the arms of some guy who was cleaning bathrooms for a living. "You're not perfect either," she said. I didn't ask for this. It was like a slap to the face. She hadn't asked for it? Who was the one who had been so neglectful in the first place? She thought I wouldn't notice the long lunches, the secretive texts, and how distant she'd been. I was blind for so long, convincing myself that everything was just a phase or that she had a hard time connecting with me emotionally. But no. She was out there actively looking for something that I couldn't give her, and that wasn't my fault. Her eyes were wild, like she couldn't believe I wasn't taking her back with open arms, despite everything she'd done. Her tears were just a performance. She wanted me to feel bad for her. She wanted to turn me into the villain for catching her. The most gut-wrenching part? She kept saying, "But I thought he was someone important. He told me he was a big deal. He made me feel valued. He promised me a future." I looked at her, defeated. "You didn't even take a second to look at the guy's job, did you? You didn't ask one question. You just wanted what he promised." She shrugged. "Is that so wrong?" I was done. I didn't even want to hear any more. I stood up and walked out of the room, leaving her in that same spot, crying, sure, but I knew she wasn't crying over me. She was crying over the fact that she got caught, that the man she thought was going to be her ticket to something better didn't live up to her fantasy. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my car outside our house for hours, just staring at the steering wheel like it held the answer to my next move. Part of me wanted to burn everything down, metaphorically, of course. Rage doesn't even begin to cover what I felt. But underneath the fury was this thick, suffocating sadness. The kind that makes your chest ache and your stomach turn. I wasn't just mourning my wife. I was mourning the life I thought we had. The next morning, she was gone. Took a few things and left a note that said, "I need time to think. Please don't hate me." Hate her? I didn't know what I felt anymore. But I definitely didn't feel love. I felt betrayed. Cheated. Humiliated. And what made it worse? Everyone we knew thought we were couple goals. People used to tell me how lucky I was to have someone like her, beautiful, sharp, confident. But no one sees the small cracks until they turn into earthquakes. I finally told my best friend what happened. He didn't say, "I told you so," even though he probably wanted to. He'd never liked her. Said she was too high maintenance, too cold. That she never looked at me like I looked at her. I always brushed it off as jealousy or protectiveness. Turns out, he was just right. I called her a few days later. I had to know, was this just a fling? Was it emotional? Was she leaving me for him? She answered, calm as ever. "He's not what I thought. I made a mistake. I panicked. I just felt stuck. Stuck? I repeated. So you thought the janitor was your escape route? He said he owned the cleaning company, she snapped, like that somehow made it less pathetic. That's when it really hit me. She wasn't even sorry. She was embarrassed that he wasn't who she thought, not that she cheated. It wasn't about me. It was about her image. Her ego. Her endless need to be desired, to be seen as better than she was. You didn't fall for a man, I said. You fell for a fantasy. And she said, maybe. But you weren't giving me one either. That was it. I hung up. I didn't yell. Didn't cry. Just ended the call. And in that moment, I knew I wasn't mourning her anymore. I was mourning the version of me that loved her unconditionally. After that final phone call, I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror for what felt like hours. I looked older, more worn out than I ever remembered. There were bags under my eyes, my jaw was clenched tight, and there was this hollow look in my eyes I didn't recognize. That's when I realized, this marriage had already been dead for a while. I was just the guy standing over the corpse, refusing to call time of death. The saddest part? I don't even think I was surprised she cheated. I think I was more surprised by how numb I'd become. So, I made a decision. No dramatic revenge. No begging her to come back. No trying to salvage something that had rotted from the inside out. I called my lawyer the next day. Told him I wanted out. Clean break. No drama, just facts. She could keep the clothes, the handbags, whatever she wanted that didn't carry memories I gave a damn about. I sent her a message that simply said, "You don't have to think anymore. I'm filing. You can keep your freedom. I'll take back my peace." She didn't reply. At least, not for 3 days. And when she did, it was classic her. Wait. Can't we just talk about this? I made a mistake. One mistake. Are you seriously throwing away everything? Everything? She already threw it away. I just picked it up and tossed it in the trash where it belonged. That same day, I moved into a temporary apartment. Slept better that night than I had in months. But here's the twist, and there's always a twist. She showed up at my door a week later, crying. Hair a mess, makeup smudged, rambling about how she'd been stupid, how the janitor, whose name I learned was Carl, by the way, had ghosted her. Turns out, he did own a cleaning company, but it was bankrupt. He was working the night shift at my office building just to scrape by. She thought he was a secret millionaire. In reality, the guy was sleeping in his van. Suddenly, I wasn't just her husband. I was Plan B. Spoiler alert, I didn't open the door. I watched her through the peephole. She was pacing, crying, occasionally knocking again. It should have torn me apart. A few months ago, it would have. But now? I just felt done. She eventually gave up and left, texting me one last gem. "You're seriously choosing pride over love?" Wow. Pride? Is that what she thought this was? This wasn't pride. This was survival. The next few weeks were filled with chaos. Mutual friends started reaching out. Some of them were shocked, others said things like I always had a weird feeling about her. I found out she'd been texting around trying to explain what happened, spinning her own version of the truth. In her story, I was cold, neglectful, always working. Carl was just someone who paid attention to her. Let me be clear, I wasn't perfect. No one is. But I never cheated. I never lied. I never disrespected her. My worst sin was trusting her too much. Meanwhile, she tried to come back again. This time with tears and roses, literally. She showed up at my work, yes, my office, begging to talk. She even tried to corner my assistant in the hallway to ask what mood I was in. She had the nerve to say, "Can't you just forget what happened? I made a mistake, but I chose you in the end." I laughed. She didn't choose me. Carl dumped her. There's a difference. Word eventually got around to her family, especially her mom, who always adored me. Her mom actually called to apologize for how her daughter had behaved. That was surreal. Her own mother took my side. By then, the divorce was moving quickly. No kids. No joint business. Just assets to divide, and since most of it was mine before we married, my lawyer made it a clean cut. It was over. And for the first time in a long time, I felt light. Not happy, not yet. But lighter. Like I wasn't carrying someone else's lies anymore. But the biggest twist? That came later, when I ran into Carl. And yeah, you'll want to stick around for that story. I never imagined I'd willingly have a conversation with the man who wrecked my marriage, but life's got a messed up sense of humor. It happened at a gas station of all places. I was pumping gas, and guess who pulls up next to me in a beat-up old truck? Carl. Wearing a janitor's uniform. No Bentley, no bodyguard, no designer shades, just a tired dude in need of a shave and clearly shocked to see me. At first, we both kind of froze. Then he gave me this awkward nod and said, "Hey, man." I stared at him for a second, then said, "So, where's the yacht?" He actually laughed. Yeah. About that. Turns out, he wasn't some mysterious millionaire. He cleaned offices. The private driver she saw was just his buddy giving him a ride while he got his car fixed. The designer clothes? Rented. The expensive restaurant? He used a gift card his cousin gave him. I couldn't make this up if I tried. She said she thought I was rich, he admitted, scratching the back of his neck. I never actually told her that. She just assumed. So she cheated on me for a fantasy. A fairy tale built on pure delusion. She wanted a billionaire and got a janitor with a leased watch and a gym membership. And you know what Carl said next? I didn't know she was married at first. When I found out, I tried to end it. But she said you were distant and cold, and she was basically already done with you. I don't know if I believed him 100%, but I appreciated that he didn't try to act like a hero. He even apologized. Said he felt like crap when he realized the full story. I told him I appreciated his honesty, but not to expect a handshake. We parted ways civilly. And strangely, I felt closure. It wasn't just her betrayal, it was the fantasy she chased. She traded loyalty for lies, love for illusions. And in the end, she got burned by her own delusion. After that bizarre gas station run-in with Carl the janitor, something shifted in me. The anger didn't disappear, but it changed. It wasn't just rage anymore. It was clarity. She didn't just cheat, she embarrassed herself. And honestly, I didn't need to stoop to her level to get some sort of twisted satisfaction. I just needed to be smart. I went home, packed up what was left of my stuff from the house, she'd been living there alone since the separation, and dropped the keys on the kitchen counter. Along with a printed-out screenshot of Carl's cleaning services business profile. Highlighted in neon yellow. Petty? Sure. But deserved? Absolutely. I filed for divorce the next day. No drawn-out war. No back and forth. Just done. She tried texting and calling again. Said she was confused, that she made a mistake, and wanted to talk. Her tone had changed completely, gone was the smug, icy confidence. Now it was desperate, whiny, and scared. She even tried the whole "you'll never find someone who loves you like I did" line. I laughed so hard I almost dropped my phone. I blocked her. On everything. But the best part? I posted a photo on social media of me having dinner at the same fancy restaurant she took Carl to. Except I went alone, wore a sharp blazer, ordered a steak, and left a massive tip. My caption? Sometimes, the best company is peace and self-respect. The likes and supportive DMs flooded in. Even old friends who hadn't heard from me in a while reached out. Turns out, when you let go of deadweight, you make room for better. So here I am, divorced, healing, and surprisingly optimistic. Looking back, this whole mess taught me more than any seminar, self-help book, or therapy session ever could. Here's what I learned. Pay attention to the shifts. Those subtle changes in tone, interest, and routine? They're not always paranoia. Sometimes, they're truth tapping you on the shoulder. Don't ignore them. People lie to preserve their ego, not your feelings. My wife lied not because she cared about me, but because she couldn't face being seen as the person she really was, shallow, self-serving, and fake. You don't need to get even, you need to get out. Revenge is tempting, but peace tastes way better. The moment I stopped reacting and started planning, I began to win. Your worth isn't up for negotiation. If someone treats you like you're replaceable, walk out and replace them with solitude. It's far more peaceful. Sometimes, the joke writes itself. A woman leaves her husband for a man she thought was rich, turns out he's the janitor at her gym. That's sitcom-level irony. If you're going through something like this, I get it, it hurts. It's humiliating. You question everything. But I promise you this, when you choose yourself, you don't lose. You grow. Now I'm focusing on rebuilding my life, my peace, and maybe one day, a new relationship. But this time, I'll do it with eyes wide open and standards way higher. Thanks for reading if you made it this far. Writing this all out has been surprisingly cathartic. And to Carl the janitor, hope those mop handles were worth it, my man.